There is a mama bird with the tiniest little babies, like right here. And she's not having this right now. She's like this over the babies. I'm sorry, mama. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome back to Legacy, and welcome to Legacy if you've never been here before. Anybody not been here before? Oh my goodness, a lot of you. Yay! This is arguably one of our most beautiful spots, and we're just super grateful to Eola and Legacy for sharing the space with us, and for the birds for sharing their space too. Thank you. She's so angry. I'm Mikki, if you've not practiced with me before, and eventually the sun will come out. Maybe tomorrow. Not tonight. Who knows? And one more very important question. Who watched Hamilton this weekend? Yeah! Awesome. If you haven't yet, definitely leave now and go do that. I'm just kidding. After yoga. Tonight, we're just going to go through a really feel-good Monday evening flow. Feel good being defined not by me, but by you. I'm going to give lots of options along the way to get into some of the tight spaces around our shoulders and our neck and our upper back through various poses. And we're going to work on balance a little bit as well. If all of that sounds great, then just kind of come along with the options that I give. And if along the way you're like, nope, that's not what I need tonight, feel free to say no and grab some more wine or take a nap or take a walk around the lake and just really make the most of this hour and some odd minutes for yourself to reset this evening. We're going to get started on our back lying down, so just get comfy. I promise there's lots of chair pose in your future, so you will get warm. And as you find that space on the ground, let's first make sure that your low back feels really comfortable. So legs could be bent if you're feeling any sort of tenderness in your low back or discomfort. Let's be very nurturing with ourselves this evening. And then let's take the arms and let's start with your arms down by your sides, like kind of touching the sides of your thighs maybe. And let's go palms toward the sky, if that feels okay. And if that means that the hands kind of come a couple inches away from the legs, that's great. And let's take a really full inhale here. And a full, complete exhale. And then just repeat that for a couple of rounds. Breathe in. And breathe out. And for the next breath or so, I want you to think about your hands, think about your arms, think about your shoulders. Be very kind of heady and brainy about it. And then I want you to see if you can start to make the transition from thinking about your hands, arms, and shoulders into feeling. For me, that feels sort of like a transition from an outside in perspective to an inside out perspective. And so with a little less kind of braininess and a little less thinking about it, can you feel a sense of release across the arms, the shoulders, the neck, the jaw, the places that you tend to get tight and tense? And then keeping with that sense of feeling from the inside out, keeping your breath really steady. Let's start to slide your hands maybe 6 inches or so farther out to the side. Kind of think, we're not going there yet, but think snow angel range of motion. But for now, just like another 6 inches, and then let those hands settle into the ground again. And just stay with that breath. That encouragement of softening and release from deep within, right? As opposed to just kind of telling yourself to relax and to soften, which which doesn't usually work well. Relax. Can you start to encourage that in a really deep level within yourself? If this is the perfect place for those hands to remain for a little longer, maybe you stay. Or maybe another 6 inches or so, just drag those arms out. And again, let them settle. Back of the hands on the ground, palms toward the sky. Notice where the brain has gone, if it's jumped back into some part of your day, and just try to stay here with this creation of space in your shoulders and your breath. Once again, maybe you stay here. Maybe you slide those hands another 6 inches or so further out to the side. Feeling how, as we take those arms higher and higher, the space that you're creating, the sensation that you're creating might shift ever so slightly around the shoulder blades, the upper back, the chest. And we're going to stay here for maybe about 10 more breaths or so. And in your own sort of free form exploration of this, you might choose to stay where you're at for those final breaths. You might continue every 2 or 3 breaths or so, moving those hands 6 inches or so higher. But can you stay in a range of motion that feels nurturing, it feels releasing, as opposed to trying to strain yourself into something that feels really deep and intense? Maybe 2 more breaths or so here. And then let's allow your hands to just settle at a place that felt really good for your shoulders. Maybe it's back where they started, maybe it's halfway back to where it started. And let's bring your legs to bent if they're straight. Let's keep your right foot on the ground, and we're going to take your left leg and cross it over your right, like you're sitting in a chair. So that can be that full cross there as opposed to like figure 4. And then we're going to start to just let your legs sway a little bit side to side. So as much to the right, as much to the left as you would like. Let this be really easy and unrushed. Just you laying in the grass and letting the legs sway side to side. And as the legs go to the right, can you feel the grounding of your left shoulder? As the legs go to the left, can you feel the grounding of your right shoulder? And not feeling any pressure to move at a rhythm that's anything other than a rhythm that feels really good this evening for you. And then the next time those legs are at center, let's take your left leg back to the ground. And we're just going to do that same thing on the other side. So right leg crossing the left. That full cross if that works in your body. Figure 4 if that's better. And just start to find that same really ease-filled unrushed movement of your legs side to side. Let's take one more rock to each direction. And then we'll allow that right foot to come back down to the ground. And from here, let's bring both knees into your chest. Reach down, grab onto your shins or your thighs, give yourself a squeeze, and spend a couple moments here just rolling around on your back in a way that feels good. Maybe it's kind of like a back massage. Maybe it just feels playful to roll around on your back in the grass a bit. And then when you're ready, we're going to start to move up and down your spine, easing your way up and over into your table pose, hands and knees. As you find your table pose, set up with your wrists right below your shoulders, your knees right below your hips, and let's start to move your spine. So inhale, belly down, head and heart up. Cow pose, and then exhale, round your spine, let the head fall forward for cat. We'll go back and forth there a few times, moving at the pace of your breath. No one else's pace, no faster or slower than it feels good in your day to move. Let's take one more round into your cow pose. And then one more round into your cat. We're going to take your left hand, put it on your right hand. Keep the spine really rounded like cat. Pull your hips all the way back to your heels, keeping the left hand glued on top of the right there. Take a big breath or two underneath that left armpit, the whole left side of your rib cage. And then we'll come back up into table. Left hand returns underneath your shoulder. Inhale, belly down, head and heart up. And then exhale, rounding into cat. Let's do that same thing other side. Right hand over left. Pull your hips back toward the heels. Full breath into that whole right side of your shoulder and rib cage. And then we'll come back up into table. As you find your table, let's take your right leg back. Option to keep the toes on the ground. Option to float that right leg. Up to you and what feels good. And then one more option tonight to take that left arm and reach it forward. If you're feeling like being a little more still tonight, you can just stay and focus on length from your back heel through the front crown, the fingers or the crown of the head. Or if you want to move, exhale. We'll bring knee and or elbow in toward belly. And then inhale, get long. How about two more here? Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, elongate. One more time. Bring it in. And lengthen. Let's bring your right shin down, your left hand back to the ground, and we'll return to that table shape. So your spine is, could have a whole taster tray of wine down your spine. Let's tuck your toes under, float your knees an inch off the ground, and try not to spill that taster tray of wine, including the little one on the back of your neck. Let your knees come on back down to the ground. And then we'll take your left leg back. Option 1, toes on the ground. Option 2, leg floats. Staying here if you'd like, or take that right arm, reach it forward. This pose meant to activate the diagonal support that exists across our spine, across our back. Stay here if you'd like, or bring the left knee and right elbow in. And then inhale, elongate. Two more times. Bring it in. And lengthen. And bring it in. And elongate. One more time. We'll let that hand come down, shin come down. Find that table shape. Tuck your toes under, float the knees. 2 full breaths here. What can soften that doesn't need to be tense and overworking? And can you feel that from the inside out as opposed to sort of forcing that relaxation or release from the outside in? Hips up and back, downward facing dog. Let your heels elongate toward the ground. Let your head fall between your arms. Completely okay if your heels do not touch the ground. And then let's inhale, rise up onto your tippy toes. Let the heels lift. And exhale, let your heels drop back down toward the ground. One more time, just like that. Lift up, inhale. And lower the heels, exhale. And then with this inhale, let's come forward into plank, top of a push-up. You're not here very long. Exhale, hips up and back. Down dog. How about we do that 2 more times? Inhale, come forward. Exhale, hips up and back. One more time, rolling forward. And pulling back. As you find this down dog, let's start to walk your feet forward toward your hands. Take as many steps as you need. Let your knees bend as much as you need. And we'll end up in a standing forward fold with your spine draping over the legs, the arms, the head completely releasing. And then let's bend your knees quite a bit more. Roll up inch by inch by inch. No rush. All the way up to standing. And at the top there, we'll take your hands all the way up to the sky. Let the palms join together overhead and exhale, hands down into your heart. Inhale, let's take those arms wide and all the way up. As you exhale, let the hands come down through center, folding back over your legs. Bend the knees any amount. Let your fingers find your shins. As you inhale, we'll slide your fingers up the shins, take the head straight forward, and then exhale, bow right back in. Root into your feet. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Take the whole inhale to get there. Palms join together overhead and exhale, hands down into your heart. Just like that, one more time. Moving at a pace that feels good. Inhale, hands go skyward. And exhale, we bow and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Create that taster tray up your spine here as well. And then exhale, let that taster tray crash as you fold. Inhale, root into your feet. Come on up. And exhale, hands down into your heart. We'll start the same way and then we'll add on. So inhale, take those hands skyward. Exhale, bow forward. Halfway lift, inhale. And this time as you fold, we'll take your left leg, step it back. We're going to keep that back knee and the back heel off the ground. Come on up into your crescent lunge. Hips come up over your shoulders, hands to the sky to start. And then once you found your feet, let's take your arms forward. We're going to keep your torso where it's at, but take your arms and your shoulders, and I want you to reach the arms forward like there's something out in front of you that you're trying to grab, but without leaning for it. And then plug your arms back in. Feel your shoulder blades glide toward each other onto the back. Let's do that a couple times. Shoulder blades spread, reach the hands forward. Exhale, pull those shoulder blades together. One more time, reach. And plug back. And then settle the arms maybe somewhere between those two extremes. Feel broad across the collarbones. Take your hands to the sky. Maybe look up toward the hands. Maybe press your palms together. And then exhale, hands come down around your front foot. And let's step back into downward facing dog. Now you're welcome to stay here for a few breaths. You could also return to cat-cow for a few breaths. Or inhale, come forward to plank. Let's take our knees to the ground. Elbows point straight back as you lower to the belly. Untuck your toes. Engage your legs as you lift up any amount into that baby cobra or high cobra shape, up to you. Any amount of lift in the heart that feels nice. Back to the belly as you exhale. Inhale, we'll press up into table. and back to downward facing dog. Settling for a couple breaths. Just let it get really steady. If you've started to get very heady and sort of outward in about it, can you make that shift back to feeling instead of thinking? And then let's take your left leg, lift it up to the sky if that feels okay. Any way that works for you. It doesn't need to be graceful. Left foot between your hands. We'll come up into that same lunge. Let your hands come skyward for a moment. And then once your clothes are fixed and you're in your feet and you feel good, let's take your hands forward. Keep your shoulders over your hips. And again, let's reach those hands way forward. Feel the shoulder blades move apart from each other on the back. And then glide your shoulder blades toward each other and plug the arms back into the sockets. 2 more times. Reach and plug and reach and plug. And then find your happy place where it just feels like there's a lot of space in the front and back of your heart. Take your hands to the sky. Maybe your eyes follow. Maybe you press your palms together. And then hands come down around your front foot. We're going to step the right foot to meet your left. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, reach up. Exhale, sit back into chair. I warned you it was coming. Always nicer with wine in hand, though. So if this is really intense as we sit into chair and your shoulders with the arms overhead, you could take your arms some degree of forward where you're still able to feel that length from your tailbone through the fingertips. And then exhale, let's fold over your legs, letting them straighten any amount. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, and we're going to step your right leg back into your lunge. Let's ground that back heel this time. Spin those right toes out. And then up we go into your lunge. Warrior 1 this time, hips facing forward. And let's press into that left big toe, straighten your front leg. Pausing there for a full breath or two, just feel the kind of lift and engagement of your legs. And then let's rebend your front knee, and as you do that, take your arms parallel to the ground. Again, set those arms in a place where they just feel really good in the back and the front of the shoulder. And let's latch your thumbs together with the palms facing the ground. Put a little bit of pressure into the thumbs. Keep lunging into that front knee as you start to take those arms any amount up toward the sky. Try not to force it. Try not to find strain there. Let the base of your neck be really soft. And then release your thumbs. Let the hands come down around your front foot. Let your back heel lift, and let's go back. Downward facing dog. Again, you're invited to stay here for a few breaths. Or inhale, come forward to plank. Your choice of knees up or down. We're lowering toward the belly. Untucking the toes when you find the ground, lifting as much as you'd like into your cobra shape. The important thing here being that the front of the shoulders is broadening, those outer shoulders releasing back to the belly as you exhale. As you inhale, you can press up through table or plank and back into downward facing dog. You have 3 breaths here. Maybe instead of down dog, it's table or cat-cow or child's pose, a drink of water. And then when you're ready, let's take your right leg, lift it skyward, and put your foot between your hands. Ground that back heel. Let those left toes spin out just a bit, and then come on up into Warrior 1. Your body's going to open a little bit towards that left corner of your mat, but you do your best to let the hips and the belly face forward. And then let's press into your right big toe. Straighten that front leg. Feel that engagement of your right quad for a couple breaths. That lift of the front hips. Good. And then let's bend that front knee. Bring your arms parallel to the ground if they're not already. Feel that kind of happy placement forward or plugged in, that in-between place. Turn the palms down, latch your thumbs, pull the thumbs into each other, and then once again, let's take your hands up toward the sky. You're in control of where that stops. Try to soften into it as opposed to really forcing it or cranking on those shoulders. Last 2 breaths, soften at the base of the neck. Make sure the back molars are like an inch apart so that the jaw is not clenched. And then release your thumbs. Let your hands come down around your front foot. And again, we're going to step the back foot forward to meet your front foot, feet together. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees and come on up into chair. Let your hands come any amount of forward and up. Oh, hi. As you exhale, we're going to step into that right foot. Take your left leg back into your lunge. Let your hands sweep back. And then keep your right knee this bent. Step forward into chair, hands to the sky. We'll switch legs. So as you exhale, right leg steps back. Inhale, step forward. Couple rounds here, finding your pace, alternating sides. Exhaling back into your lunge. Inhaling forward into your favorite pose. Moving with your breath here a couple more times. Let's end with your right foot forward, left leg back. Leaning over that front leg, put your superhero cape on. Just ride the wind. And then keep your body leaned forward. Bring your hands to your heart. As those hands come together, press the palms into each other and feel broad across the elbows, across the collarbones. If this is too much on your low back, you can bring hands to thigh instead. So option 1 is hands on thigh. Option 2 is hands at heart. Option 3, left elbow down, right elbow up. So you're twisting towards your front leg. And if you would like to latch that elbow on the right thigh or outside of it, option for all of those. Try to force a little bit less. Soften into it a little bit more. Final 2 breaths here. Give that back leg a little bit more juice. And those of you that have the left elbow outside the right thigh, if you would like to open your arms into a T, open up. And then as you exhale, let's untwist. Let your hands come down around that front foot. We're going to bend your back knee until it just barely taps the ground. Let your heart lift, let your head lift. And then as you exhale, we're going to straighten at least that back leg. Some of you will also straighten the front leg and fold. Then we'll inhale, rebend one or both knees, depending on what you've got. And then exhale, straighten either just the back leg or both. 2 more rounds of breath here. So coming towards what we call a cow lunge as you breathe in, and a cat lunge as you breathe out. 1 more here. And then as you bend that front knee this next time, we're going to look forward, step your back foot to meet your front foot, and come right back into chair pose. Now, you get to choose your chair, which could be just sitting down on the ground. Anywhere between a standing desk and a squatty potty. But try to keep whatever bend you establish as we move back and forth a couple more times. So let's start with your right leg stepping back this time. That'll be your exhale. And then inhale, bring it back into chair. Exhale, left leg steps back. And step it forward. Right leg back. And forward. We'll do left leg back 1 more time. And then we'll end with your right leg back, left leg forward. Arms reaching back. Feel the shoulders broaden, the heart move forward. Option to put your hands on your front thigh. Option to bring your hands to your heart. Staying with either of those, or right elbow down, left elbow up, twisting toward your front leg, and you might latch the elbow on or outside your left leg. You've got a couple breaths. Any of those options are valid, and any of those options are yoga, as long as you're breathing. Final breath here. Maybe you open your arms into a T. And then we'll take your hands down around your front foot and let that back knee drop to the ground. Now, if the cat-cow lunge shape doesn't work for you, you can stay here. You could even just put your hands on your front thigh and spend a couple breaths here. Or, as you exhale, let's straighten both legs, fold forward any amount. Remember, it could just be your back leg if that works best. And then inhale, bend both knees, and let your heart and your head lift. You've got 3 more rounds of breath, however you'd like to spend them. Continuing to feel these shapes and these movements from the inside out and trying to get a little less heady and brainy about them. Less thinking, more feeling. Final round here. We'll bend the front knee, step your right foot to meet your left foot. Bend your knees, come up, chair pose. With a smile, maybe. Root into those heels, straighten your legs, rise up, reach up. And then let the palms join together and exhale, hands down into your heart. Let the eyes close or the gaze drop for a couple of breaths. Feel your breath, its rhythm, its space. And then let's take your hands up to the sky. Blink those eyes open if they've closed. We'll exhale, fold over your legs. And any way that works for you, let's make your way back into downward facing dog, which could be a plank, that lowering to the belly, the little cobra shape. Could just be a step back and a couple breaths of stillness. Wherever you're at, taking just a couple more breaths here to feel where some space could be added, some release could be encouraged. Which sometimes requires wine. Little head bob. And then when you're ready, if it makes sense, let's take your right foot to the sky. And we'll step your right foot forward between your hands. Let's ground your back heel, let those toes spin out. Come up towards your warrior one once again, so facing the front of the mat. Once you're upright, we're going to swim your arms back behind you, clasping your thumbs, so just like we did in front of us, but now behind you. Let those thumbs press into each other. If you've got something like a strap to put between your hands, that can give you some more space. A sweatshirt would work. Just encourage the outer tips of your shoulders to soften back. Option to stay here if this is everything you need tonight. Option to take a little lean over your front thigh. Try not to let the shoulders round forward as you tip. Keep moving them back. And then final option, just depending on how much work and challenge you want and need tonight, maybe you come up onto that right foot for a couple breaths for balance. Just because you try an option doesn't mean you have to stay committed to it. And then let's step back if you're flying. Everyone releasing hands up to the sky. And we're going to open the shoulders toward the long edge of your mat, warrior two. Your back foot might wiggle back a little bit. Let's keep your front knee pointed straight forward. And then let's take left hand down the back leg, right hand up to the sky. If it feels okay, look up at that beautiful sunny blue sky above us. Summer, where did you go? And then let's bring right elbow to right thigh, left hand up to the sky. Now, option to stay here with that left arm reaching up. Option to turn your left palm to face behind you, bend your elbow, and bring that left arm into the small of your back, like you're trying to itch your low back. Some of you might grab that right thigh or your non-existent love handle. Some of you might just let the hand rest on the low back. And let's just breathe some space and some release into that left shoulder. Try not to force anything. Try not to crank anything. And if it feels okay in your neck, maybe you start to turn your gaze up toward the sky. And then we'll release that left arm from behind the back, come back up, warrior two, arms parallel to the ground. And we'll take your hands down around your front foot, back heel lifts, and let's step back, downward facing dog. From your down dog, we're going to make our way down onto the belly. So you might come into plank and lower yourself down. Table also works. Let's end up with your hands right beside your rib cage, elbows bent and hugging back like you've got a little thigh master between your elbows. And then let's lift the head, lift the heart just enough that your hands are not necessary. You can even test and then put them down if you'd like. I want you just to keep a sense of your elbows hugging back. See if you can feel a sense of broadening across the front of the collarbone and the shoulder. Length up the back of the neck. Option to stay here, option to float both of your feet off the ground. And instead of just thinking up with your feet, think up and back so they're really long. For those of you that want more challenge tonight, final option is going to be to actually float your hands an inch off the ground, but keep the shape. So elbows are still hugging in. Soften what you can. Breathe where you can. And then with your next exhale, just let yourself come back to earth. Little shimmy shake of your hips if that feels nice. And then up we go, downward facing dog in the way that makes sense for you. Couple breaths there. Let the head be really heavy. And then let's take your left leg, lift it up and back. And foot between your hands any way that works for you. Ground that back heel. We'll come on up into your warrior one once again. And once you've found your feet, we'll let those hands pull back behind you. Clasping your thumbs once again. If you can remember which thumb was on top, go ahead and switch it up. And give a little encouragement of the front of your shoulders to broaden, the outer tips of your shoulders to lengthen back. It might not actually look like you're doing anything, but on the inside, can there be a sense of greater space? Option to stay here, option to tip forward over the front leg. And those of you that took flight and still think it's a good idea, up you go onto that left foot. Wherever you're at, really steady breath. And if you're flying, start to bend that left knee and come back into your lunge, releasing the hands up to the sky. And we'll shift so that your shoulders are facing the long edge of your mat, warrior two. Once you're there, you're comfy, that left knee, you've checked in with it, and it's still pointing forward. Let's take your right hand down the back leg, left hand reaches up and back. And then we'll shift into your extended side angle, leaning forward. So left elbow, left thigh, right hand to the sky. You can stay here with that right hand reaching upward, or you can turn that right palm to face behind you. Bend your elbow, bring that hand down into the small of your back. Some of you, maybe that left thigh. And then just use that to start to encourage more space across the front of the right shoulder, the right neck, the right chest. Last 2 breaths if it feels nice. Start to turn your gaze upward. And then we'll shift back up into Warrior 2, arms parallel to the ground, reaching forward and back. Exhale, hands down around your front foot, back heel lifts. And back we go, downward facing dog. Again, we're going to make that journey down onto the belly, any way that works for you, through plank, through table, knees up or down. Let the hands settle beside your rib cage with the elbows bent and that hug of the elbows back. And can you actually feel your shoulder blades glide toward one another and into the chest a little bit as you start to lift the heart, the head away from the ground. Let the back of your neck be long. Keep feet down or start to let them fly. And then your choice if you keep hands down and pulling back, or if you start to float those hands an inch off the ground. Keep hugging those elbows toward each other. Really feel the strength of your upper back, giving permission to the front of your shoulders and your chest to relax and release. And then exhale back to the ground. And when you're ready, make your way back into downward facing dog. Big full inhale. Full complete exhale. Let's inhale, bend your knees, lift your heels, look forward, and exhale, walk, step, or hop, top of the mat. Take a couple breaths here to let everything hang. Arms heavy, head heavy, spine heavy. You might bounce a little bit, you might shake and sway a little bit. Sometimes it feels nice to nod and shake your head. Just kind of get those places that are a little grumpy, moving and mobile. And then let's start to curl the edges of your mouth up towards your cheeks. That's a smile. Bend your knees. Come on up into chair pose. We're going to shift into your right foot, and we're going to bring that left leg all the way over the right, just like we did on our backs as we got started. So it could be figure 4 if you prefer, or you could put the toes on the ground outside your right foot. The next option would be to place the pinky edge of your left foot on the outer right calf and kind of squeeze the legs into each other. Some of you will place the left foot on the back of the right calf. This is already a lot for you to think about. That's totally normal. You stay. You place your hands in a place, your arms in a place where you can feel the length from tailbone through fingers, and you enjoy. If you want to add the arms in, let's take your arms parallel to the ground, palms facing up. And let's take your left arm underneath your right arm. Really get those arms nice and crossed, bend your elbows, and plant the palms or the back of the hands into each other. If that's not happening for you, big ol' hug. Wherever you're at, let those elbows lift away from the chest. Let the shoulders soften. See if you can keep that smile. It just completely disappeared. Everyone's so focused. Everyone's focus face. One final breath. If you step out, it's not a big deal. You just come back in. Eagle pose. Let's come up 2 feet on the ground. 2 hands to the sky. Pausing for a moment. Let's take your hands behind your head. Give your head a little hammock. Thumbs on the base of the skull to help lengthen the back of the neck. And then let your head just fall back into your hands. Elbows can be wide or hugged in, whatever feels nice. And then use your hands to bring that head back up. Hands back up to the sky. I almost said ceiling. Kind of feels like a ceiling tonight. Sit back into chair. I never make promises about this, but I think it's your last one. Right leg over left. Make it work for you. Figure 4, toe tap, outside of the calf. And if already that's starting to transition you from that place where you can feel and sense and release to that place where you're thinking and in your head, then just stay with the legs, don't add the arms. If you've got a little more space to add, let's bring those arms down in front of you, palms up. It'll be right arm underneath left. Bend the elbows and then bring palms or back of hands together. If none of that works, hug. And then elbows are going to lift off the chest and forward as your hips sit back. It's not about getting all of the options in the deepest, biggest, baddest shape. It's about staying connected with yourself, with your breath, giving yourself some space to breathe. Final 2 breaths wherever you're at. And then let that right foot come to the ground, both hands to the sky. You can either take that hammock option again, or keep your hands up as you take that reach back. Little belly stretch, little back bend. And then let's bring hands back to your heart as you lift up, stacking the body. Let the eyes close or the gaze drop. And again, just settle right back into your space. That rhythm of your breath. The sensing and feeling as opposed to the thinking, the analyzing, the doing. And then let's take your 2 hands upwards. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, fingers to shins. Find that halfway lift. Let's pause here for an entire breath. Really get the shoulders to move on to the back body. And then exhale, we'll fold once again. Let the hands find the ground. Left leg steps back. Let's put that back knee down on the ground. Left hand's going to stay on the ground, on the mat. Right hand up toward the sky. From deep in your upper back, feel a sense of broadening of length across your wingspan. Some of you that want to stay here, stay here. If you'd rather tuck your back toes under and lift that back knee off the ground, also a great option. If your shoulders are rebelling a little bit against all the work tonight, maybe you just bring that right hand down onto your right hip. See if you can find a place that invites you to be still, to be at ease for 2, maybe 3 more breaths. And then let that right hand come back down to the ground. Let's take it back into downward facing dog. So from your down dog, you have the choice to stay, or if you'd like, come forward to plank. We're going to be here for a couple breaths. I don't tell you that until you've come into it. So you can put knees down on the ground so that they're behind your hips. You can keep the 2 legs doing the same thing if you'd like. Or if your 2 knees are down, straighten your right leg with the toes on the ground. If your 2 knees are up, take your right leg and float it a couple inches off the ground. One more full inhale wherever you're at. And wherever you're at, full exhale. If the right foot's floating, let it come down. Let's put both knees on the ground, knees wide, big toes together. Let your hips press back toward your heels for child's pose. Forehead to the ground. And if it doesn't find the ground, stack your hands and place the hands beneath your forehead so that you have a little pillow. Couple full breaths here, feeling the shape, the movement, the experience of your breath in the back of your ribs, along the entire length of your spine. And then let's take your hands, crawl them forward from wherever they're at. Come back up into your table. From there into your downward facing dog. And let's make one more journey to the front of your mat. So as you inhale, bend the knees, lift the heels, look forward, and you can walk, step, or hop. Top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And as you fold, let's wiggle your feet all the way to the edges of your mat. Just nice wide stance for your feet there. Wiggle the toes maybe a little out, the heels a little in. And let's grab opposite forearms or elbows. Let the arms get completely heavy with gravity and the head get completely heavy with gravity as well. If you're feeling a lot of pulling in the low back, perhaps you put a bend in the knees to create a sense of release for your low back. And then let's bend your knees enough that you can allow both hands to find the ground. If that's not happening for you, then knees bend enough that you can put your elbows on your thighs. We're going to keep your left elbow on your thigh or left hand on the ground as you take your right hand up toward the sky. So left elbow on your left thigh or left hand on ground, your choice, right hand up. And if that's not happening in your shoulder tonight, then you bring your right hand to your hip. With your next exhale, as dramatically as you want, let yourself fold. Let the head release. Ooh, that was a good one. I heard that. And then let's set up for that other side. Left hand on ground or left elbow on knee. Right hand to the sky. Sorry, just kidding. Right hand down, left hand up. You guys got it. You're like, this fool. It was kind of a weird full moon Monday, so if that was the worst thing I messed up tonight in class, I'll take it. Exhale, release, let it go. Take a full breath here. Just feel everything fill up. And take a full exhale. Feel everything get heavier and release. And then we're going to keep your left foot at the front of your mat. You might wiggle it back in so it's near the middle. Take your right leg back. We'll let that right knee come on down to the ground. Right hand stays planted, left hand to the sky. Just starting there. Can you create ease and space around both shoulders? So that right one likes to really creep up toward the neck and the jaw. Let it glide down and back. If you want to stay here, stay here. If you'd rather tuck your back toes under and lift that knee off the ground, let that happen. Remember that left hand could be on your hip if the shoulder's not having it. Final 2 breaths. And then let that left hand come back down. Tuck your back toes under, lift the knee if it's not already. And let's step your way back into your downward facing dog. If you want that vinyasa one more time, that rolling through plank, chaturanga, which is the push-up shape, back bend, feel free. And then when you find your downward facing dog, let's bring your knees to the ground. Knees wide, big toes together, right back into your child's pose. And this child's pose, if it works in your body, let's take your arms, wrap them around your legs like hands toward feet, and just let your shoulders plummet toward the ground. It's one of the only times in yoga where I'm going to say just let your shoulders round forward. Forehead could be on the ground or cheek could be on the ground. Take one more really full breath in. And that complete releasing breath out. And then you're just going to crawl out from here onto your belly. Let's place your elbows below your shoulders as you come down onto the belly for Sphinx pose. And let's start with your chin really dropped in towards your chest as you settle here. As that head falls forward, can you lengthen the outer shoulders back? Press your elbows down into the ground. Feel like you're trying to drag your elbows back. Feel that movement of your belly and your breath between your body and the ground. And then let's start to lengthen through the back of the neck to lift your head up, taking the crown of the head toward the sky. If you're feeling a little bit of difficulty kind of lifting away from the ground, try to move your arms forward or back a bit until it feels like you've just got a straight kind of column set up of those upper arms, elbows right below the shoulders. Allow the shifts and the changes here to be really subtle and gradual. Just this kind of very soft encouragement of upper back engagement to allow and encourage the front of your shoulder to broaden. One more breath here. And then elbows out, hands in. Let your forehead come on down to the hands or a cheek to the ground, whatever feels best there. And just breathe. If that was just the right amount of back bend for you tonight, you're going to stay with that. Repeat it one more time. If you would like to come back into locust, we've done like a cobra locust hybrid tonight. We're going to take full locust as an option. Then let's start to slide your hands back by your rib cage, as we've done before, kind of setting up for that cobra shape. So if you're not feeling it, back to Sphinx, which is elbows below shoulders, and chill out for a little bit longer here. If you're coming with me, hands by your rib cage, start to lift your heart, your head off the ground. Feel the hands press into the ground and gently pull back. Option to stay there, option to float your feet. Option to stay here or to float your hands. And then our final add-on here tonight is to take your hands, reach them back. You can keep the arms shoulder width, or you can clasp your thumbs behind your back. Wherever you're at, let's take maybe 4 or 5 more breaths. If you've chosen an option you can't stay in for that long, back up a little bit. Find a place where you can really linger in and enjoy those last few breaths. And when you've had enough, back to the belly. Forehead or cheek to the ground. Just take your time. As you find yourself belly down, again, bend the knees. Let your feet sway a little side to side. And then let's press the ground away and come on up to seated. Hips on the ground, legs out in front of you. As you find that seat, let's take legs out straight to start. Heels forward, toes pointing up and pulling back. Hands on the ground beside you. Maybe closing the eyes here, letting the gaze drop. And feeling that experience of feeling as opposed to thinking again. Or if you find yourself, as I do, back in your head, encourage that transition once again into sensing and feeling. You are invited and welcome to stay here. Or with your hands alongside the legs, just start to crawl and walk those hands gently forward. You might grab the feet, you might not. Doesn't really change anything, doesn't make you a good human. Just let the hips be really heavy and let the spine find length from your tailbone through the back of your neck, through the crown of your head. One more full breath wherever you're at. If you've tipped forward, walk your hands back in. And let's lean back on your hands just enough that you could cross your legs for a few moments here. Let's bring your hands to the lap, palm face down. Let your spine, your torso stack where it feels really easy to be seated, really easy to breathe. Just feel your breath move in and out for a couple rounds here. Let this be really simple. And then let's tip back just enough that you can bring the feet to the ground, let the knees bend. Hands on the shins or the backs of the thighs, whatever feels nice there. And brace yourself on your legs as you round the spine back, a little cat shape. And then press into your shins or your legs, bring the belly toward the thighs, let the heart lift, the shoulders broaden. Let's do that 2 more times, rounding and lifting. 1 more time, rounding. And finding all the length that you can. As you really let the heart lift, maybe you look up toward the sky. There's sunshine behind you guys. It's trying. And then exhale. Let's round that spine, really root into your feet. Make sure you have room to roll back and start that process of rolling down onto your back. And as you come down onto your back, let's bring your knees into your chest. Just give those legs a really solid hug here. You might shift a little side to side. When you're ready, we'll release the legs out onto the ground, bent or straight, whatever's most relaxing and ease-filled for your back. And again, we'll set the arms into anywhere along that sort of snow angel range of motion that we started with that feels like it's encouraging ease and release for the shoulders, the neck, the upper back, the jaw. And then allow yourself a moment here to fully breathe in and to fully breathe out. And then allow that breath to just get really easy, really natural. And for the next few moments, allowing all adulting, all work, all thinking to take rest and to subside. Just allow yourself to be at rest in a field. Allow your next inhale to deepen. And your next exhale to be a little more complete. And then just let that breath return to a rhythm that feels steady, it feels presencing. And as you desire to add some movement back into your body, let some movement find its way back. Nice and small, start gradual. And little by little, ease yourself to a side and up to a comfortable seat. As you find that seat, let your palms come together in front of your heart. And whatever you've created for yourself tonight, whether it be the experience of this space in this moment, whether it be stepping away from something that was kind of grating at you today, whether it be physical release, whatever it is that you found tonight, just linger in that for a moment. And tuck it away into the cells of your body and into your breath, not just as a gift for yourself, but to everyone you connect with along the way. The light within me honors the light within each of you. Namaste.